Hello and welcome to Will Watches. This is Dark episode 9. So much happened last episode, but there's a few things I didn't actually touch on in the discussion, even though it was like half an hour. Tannhaus having the phone now, having Ulrich's phone, what does that open up possibility wise? I don't know about you, but sometimes I have these like thought experiments where I think like if I time traveled back into like distant past with my phone and it still could work with the internet, what would you do? You know, could you become a king or emperor of the world if you actually had that knowledge of a telephone, of a mobile phone, internet connection, all of that time ago? Of course, with Tannhaus, he doesn't know the password. Maybe he'll be able to, you know, trial and error it, and he doesn't have internet connection, maybe, unless he can reverse engineer it. That would be cool. You know, it'd be really cool if it is somehow the way he builds his time machine is reverse engineering modern technology, the phone, and then that of course creates a bootstrap paradox. And then Ulrich kind of answers the question, would you kill baby Hitler, or who he assumes is baby Hitler in Helga doing all of these kidnappings and killing his child, and the answer is yes, he would actually try and kill a child if he knew that child would grow up to be a monster, or who he assumes is a monster. As we've seen before, I don't think there's such thing as black and white and good and evil in this show, but also in the process, did he actually create the monster by nearly killing him and not actually killing him? Like, if that causes everything to happen, he is just fed into that bootstrap paradox again. Ulrich is just causing all of these paradoxes potentially. So before we jump into this, be sure to check out the Patreon page. Over there you can find 1 week early access, so you can get episode 10 right now. You can also find polls so you can vote for what's next, and you can find a full-length timer-based version of this where you just sync up your own footage and you can watch along with me. So yeah, let's just jump right in.
Seit jeher rätselt der Mensch über seine Herkunft.
Okay, getting everyone.
Wir das Gestern und das Morgen gleichzeitig sehen. Den Ursprung und das Ende.
Ooh, is that young Alexander?
Seine Bestimmung.
That looked like it went Jonas stranger than Noah. And we've seen that when we've seen Noah, have we seen two different time periods of Noah? Because there was the one where he was quite, you know, buff and muscly. I was wondering if that was a younger Noah, but they do look like similar. But could that potentially be that Jonas becomes Noah? I don't think so. I don't know, the casting in this is so good, they all look so similar. I can't really see the visual similarity at least. And it happened so quick too. It could have just been showing Noah. But yeah, he was saying, where does man come from? Produced by God, rule after our origin. And there's so many characters in this whose origin we might not know, you know? Like Michael and Mikkel being the same person. Are there any other characters whose origins are weird like that? Everything is now. Okay. He's doing something. Is that... Yeah, it's modelled after him and his family. I just realised that looks like little Helga.
Vielleicht habe ich ihn zu sehr geschimpft wegen der Hose. Vielleicht ist er deswegen weg.
Okay, yeah, Helga's missing. It's all happening again, all over and over. Ah, okay, it's Ulrich's hand in the opening sequence.
Was für ein Mann. Ich weiß nicht, aber er hat nach dem Jungen vom Doppler gefragt.
Oh, so they could be onto Ulrich now.
Und nun raus. Kein Wort zum Doppler.
But Ulrich can just escape here and go to a different timeline. He knows where the cave is.
Herr Kanwald hat mir gesagt, dass Ihr Sohn verschwunden sei.
Oh, that was Kanwald. There was a Kanwald. Who would that have been? Like maybe Ines' dad?
Warum seid ihr weg von da, wo ihr herkommt? Seid ihr Bankräuber auf der Flucht?
Ich fühle mich, als wenn ich bei der Königin von England zum Tee eingeladen wäre.
Dreh dich mal.
Do they leave maybe if she was outed? If what I think is true, that she's bi or lesbian?
Egon und ich fast 10. Aber irgendwie hat sich alles verändert. Also er hat sich verändert.
Yeah, the relationship just isn't fulfilling anymore.
Was hat denn dein Mann beruflich gemacht?
Er war Pfarrer. Aber ich kann nicht sagen, dass er ein Mann von Glauben war.
Noah? I can't say he was a man of faith either.
Manchmal glaube ich, ist es gut, dass er tot ist.
Oh, but he's dead. But they could just be assumed dead.
Ich kann das nicht annehmen. Ich zieh das lieber wieder aus.
Yeah, you gotta be very careful flirting here.
Dass ihm etwas zustößt. Weil es vielleicht nicht Bernds ist.
Oh, he might not be Burns' child. Okay.
Und wenn es nicht Gottes Hand ist. Wenn es die Hand des Teufels ist.
Gott hat mich zu ihm.
Oh, these hands of the devil. Noah's hands.
Denn du bist bei mir. Dein Steck.
Is he after Helga for some reason? Obviously he knows Helga when he's older.
Von dem Hause des Herrn. Immer da.
Oh, it's Egon. He's gonna see him here walking with blood. He hasn't been able to clean himself up. He's not just gonna run right into the cave and get followed in though. But it seemed like older Egon didn't have knowledge of the time travel. Ah, yeah, he's gonna cut him off. Oh, he's so close.
Die dürfen da gar nicht sein. Ich hab's geändert.
Was haben Sie geändert?
Den Lauf der Zeit.
Yeah, because he killed Helga, they shouldn't have been there.
Ich hab's doch geändert.
Yeah, because he didn't actually, did he? Oh, let's see Helga wake up. Because yeah, look, there's still no wallpaper or decoration in here, but when he wakes up, there is. Or did that just change? Has that somehow changed somehow? I'm looking at, there's these two columns, timeline 1, timeline 2, is that what they represent? You know? What is this? Oh, that's Eric, isn't it? That from... Yeah, that looks like young Eric. We saw a little glimpse of it when it was flashing all of the people, and the photo I've seen, it was like a drawing of him when he came here in 86. But he had a gun, okay.
Zisch weiter.
Ich wollte nur wissen, ist Ulrich noch im Gefängnis?
Heute müssen wir ihn rauslassen.
It's like Ulrich in the past was in prison, now future one will be too.
Niemand stellt sich zwischen uns. Das ist Liebe, weißt du? Die ist stärker als Hass.
Well, she does eventually get between them.
Wenn ich herausfinde, wer das dem Bullen erzählt hat, ich mach den fertig.
So then she frames Regina.
Als Regina.
Yeah.
Man sieht sich.
Just what a manipulator from that young.
Mit all dem, was du zu tun hast, das habe ich im Blut.
Vielleicht ist auch Krebs.
I mean, he does, but not yet. No. Yeah, that little smirk, that grin. But does that then halt the Mads case? Oh, we're finally getting this. How many episodes ago was it that we had this start of? So she must discover something here, and it just leads to years of obsession. Okay, all of the waste. Yellow buckets too. We saw the yellow paint when Charlotte went down. And it is all giving off radiation. It's all reactive. No way. That was her dog, Gretchen. Yeah. Okay.
denkt, ich bin der Antichrist.
Oh, and yeah, they think it's Regina.
Ist dir nichts Besseres eingefallen?
Komm, Katharina.
Du bist so krank, dass ich kotzen möchte.
Ooh. It was mainly Katerina. Yeah, I guess Ulrich wouldn't hit a kid, wouldn't hit a girl.
Hey, stopp!
Verpiss dich, das geht dich nichts an.
Ich hab gesagt, ihr sollt aufhören.
And Eric is the hero who comes in and swoops in and saves the day.
Entschuldigt euch jetzt bei ihr.
He doesn't know all the context though.
Und woher soll ich wissen, dass die echt ist?
What is going on with him though? Why does he have a gun and was on the run like that? Does he actually know who she is at this point, or is he just protecting this girl?
Halb so schlimm.
Du musst zu einem Arzt.
Yeah, if he's a doctor, he'll get questioned.
Wir haben zu Hause Verbandszeug. Meine Mutter ist nicht da.
Yeah, so he protects her, she cares for him, and that's how they meet.
Die Anschlüsse zum chemikalischen Einspeisesystem waren korrodiert. In einem der Rohre musste sich wohl etwas Wasserstoffgas angesammelt haben. Bumm.
Yeah, okay, that was the explosion. It was in 86.
Alles in sichere Verwahrung gebracht.
Das nennst du sichere Verwahrung.
Yeah, just in the cave where anyone could interfere. Well, I guess it's all crossed off that entrance, but there could be other ways to access it in that cave.
Der Schichtleiter, eine Handvoll Mitarbeiter, Helge.
Helga knows.
Keiner wird reden. Alle haben sie eine ordentliche Zulage bekommen. Also mach es nicht größer als es ist.
Yeah, so she has to take it on knowing this knowledge of a cover-up.
Glaubst du, Hannibal ist mit Elefanten über die Alpen marschiert? Es gibt keine Wahrheit, nur Geschichten.
There are no truths, just stories. Both here at the same time. Yeah, when he says I need to stop him, is he trying to stop himself? That question's still ticking away. Oh, he's actually just gonna run. But other Helga is here. Oh, don't move. He's gonna smash the window in or something, isn't he? Or not? Yeah, there might be evidence if he checks down there. Oh, he's not being too smart about this. I would have... He could have gone under the desk, maybe. He might have seen him moving or looking back there. Yeah, Helga, he always seems to have a guilt, so there must be some other reason to do this. He's being blackmailed or something. What did that say? Alexander.
Geboren am 21.01.
So he took up that personality, but did that say Nilsson in the previous one? It looked like it said Bart, B-A-T-Z Nilsson. Was that his previous passport? Is he related to Ulrich somehow? Or was that just someone else's passport?
Ein junger Mann ist hier, um Sie zu sehen. Er sagt, er ist ein Freund Ihrer Tochter.
Ein Freund?
She doesn't have friends. So he just works his way up from the inside.
Die sind nicht von hier.
Alles, was ich will, ist eine Chance.
Tut mir leid.
Didn't answer like where he's from. I tried to look at the passport if it say a different country or something. Is from somewhere else. I know, maybe she's trying to straighten her hair and look prettier. She's got a boy she's interested in. Is that what it is? You just gotta embrace the curls though. We see that even in the future she doesn't. Okay. God, where in the timeline is this though?
Warum funktioniert es nicht? Das wird es. Geduld.
Oh, so maybe it is a time machine and it just hasn't worked before and that's why there's the bodies.
Ich will das nicht mehr.
He's got all his blood on his hands.
Hölle geblickt hat, wird sie nicht mehr los. Wird zu einem Teil von dir.
Looking into hell.
Die Idee von Gott, von Jesus, deinem Retter, die wird zu einem Faden Hoffnung, an den du dich klammerst.
Helga's looked into hell.
Es gibt überhaupt gar keinen Plan. Da draußen ist nur Chaos.
Yeah, so he doesn't actually believe it's all just a front, him being a pastor.
Das Leben eine einzige Spirale von Verletzungen.
Okay.
Aber das hier, das ist unsere Arche.
He's Noah's Ark, yeah. Noah must just be a pseudonym he's taken on.
Die alles neu sortiert, den Anfang und das Ende.
Reorder the timeline to create like a pure timeline then, okay. The third one of these. Or is that the 3 time points? We're gonna see 2019 now? Yeah, okay, that's what it was signifying. Because she was there when Alexander put his gun away. Okay, Deutschland, so it is Germany, his passport. Boris? Is that Boris Nielsen? Or is that a different name?
Wo ist Ulrich? Ich dachte, der ist bei dir. Ich habe versucht, ihn zu erreichen, aber sein Handy ist aus. Was weiß ich? Er ist suspendiert.
Oh, yeah.
Gott, bin ich bescheuert. Unser Kind ist weg und hat nichts Besseres zu tun, als diese Fotze zu...
Is she gonna go to Hannah then?
Ich will dir nicht wehtun, okay? Ich will wissen, wer du bist. Wer du wirklich bist.
Is there something more to who she really is? Every character I have that question, you know?
Franziska? Martha? Warum haben wir eigentlich alle Geheimnisse voneinander?
Manche Sachen will man eben für sich behalten.
Not everything has to be shared. Maybe when they're actually in a relationship, you can announce it.
Tu doch nicht so blöd. Ulrich, ist der hier? Nein. Warum sollte er...
There's that gun in the box there.
Ich weiß nicht, wo mein Kind ist. Und ich weiß auch nicht, wo mein Mann ist. Mein Mann! Verstehst du?
Yeah, she finds out all of that time ago it was her behind it too.
Hier? Oder bei mir zu
Oh,
Hause?
the lid opened a bit.
Es ist vorbei. Es ist vorbei.
Yeah, they ended it together. I hate that box is right there and she gonna see the gun.
Ich habe es beendet. Ich wollte das alles nie. Aber
Back to manipulating, playing the victim, okay.
er wollte dich verlassen. Ich habe ihm gesagt, dass es verrückt ist.
Yeah, she's completely shifting the blame off herself. Oh, that's his grandma, isn't it?
Meine Mutter hat gesagt, du bist vor meiner Geburt gestorben.
Deine Mutter hat dir sicherlich eine Menge Geschichten über mich erzählt. Nur einige davon sind wahr.
Okay.
Ich möchte, dass du ihr das gibst. Machst du das für mich? Das war noch davor, vor dem Sommer und allem, was danach kam.
Okay. The summer, eventful summer.
Drehen könnte. Ich würde vieles anders machen.
Can she not though? And you know, just see that photo she gave him, see how it looks, it's like undamaged, you know? In the hotel there, she has that all of those keys behind her. And there was one of the keys there wasn't there, meaning one of the rooms is let by someone. I don't know if that's still the stranger from when he was letting that room out, but I feel like he clocked out. Oh, she's gonna confront him.
Erkennst du sie wieder? Ich habe mich alle Jahre gefragt, warum ich sie aufbewahrt habe.
He's so vulnerable here, isn't he?
Ich will, dass du Ulrich fertig machst. Ich will, dass alles verliert.
Okay. Blame everything on him, all of the missing children.
Boris Niewald.
Niewald, okay, not Nielsen. Oh, she just showed up.
Hallo.
You're my aunt, sorry, I can't do this. You can't even say anything.
Das ist doch falsch.
Was war falsch?
Das zwischen uns.
But he can't elaborate at all, of course. Well, he can make the excuse that her and Bartosz are together, you know?
Nein, nicht wegen Bartosz. Wegen uns. Wir passen einfach nicht, okay?
Yeah, he just can't elaborate at all, of course, but...
Ja, wir passen einfach nicht.
Does he really need to hurt her to get this across?
Es tut mir leid.
It's just the no explanation is just gonna torment her, isn't it?
Und was machen wir mit dem LKW?
In ein paar Tagen, wenn alles ruhiger geworden ist.
Okay, so he's related to the power plant as well. Waller, his name is, I believe. So this is this the truck that had whatever it was they were lifting away? Yeah, so the stranger's still letting out this room, but she's gone into clean. Will she learn anything from this? There's obviously the Mikkel bit there. She might think he's the one who is doing all of this, you know? Just a stranger coming into town, kids going missing. Maybe she'll report him. Oh, it's powering up, okay. Bart and Noah again. What did he say last time, you know?
Sie hatten recht.
He showed him the future. I gotta say, I am seeing a little bit of resemblance between the two. They kind of got a bit of that kind of square face on their nose. Noah isn't Bartosz older, is he? And like the stranger and him become enemies because of everything that's happening here.
Wann fange ich an?
They become like natural enemies in the future, and it's those two against each other. Is that what it is? The yellow again. The yellow keeps coming up. I wonder if there is actually something that ties it in thematically, actually. The yellow coat, yellow umbrella, yellow paint. Oh, it's her again. Is that the stranger? Is that, This is a weird song choice. Trying to listen to the lyrics as well. Talking about trees and leaves growing. Okay, it is the stranger. see, is it actually waste inside? Ah, not gonna show us. Okay. Yeah, he's reverse engineering it, figuring it out. Obviously there'll be no service. Could he connect it to a computer though?
Was soll das sein?
Sagen wir, es ist etwas, das den Lauf der Zeit gerade rückt.
Okay. Was that before the stranger showed up and talked about the time machine? And that's the one that he had up in the corner? Because he had a time machine tucked away there, didn't he? Daniel Kahnwald, was that the one that we saw before, where I put together his Ines' dad maybe? Okay, so that was Dark episode 9. Now what I want to talk about right away is Alexander / Boris. So his original name was Boris Nierwald, which I think that sounds like Nilsson and Kahnwald put together. And I've been just thinking, okay, Nilsson and Kahnwald, the two families, I don't think Boris could have been a child of Hannah and Ulrich, because they were, you know, they did have a thing for a bit. I guess that is a possibility, but it could be Jonas and Marta get together in the future, have a kid, and then they join their names, so it's Nierwald, they have Boris Nierwald, and then he travels in time somehow and ends up there. Is that what happens? That then does mean that Marta and Jonas end up together and, you know, their nephew and aunt. But then if Bartosz and Martha were together, it would be she is his grandma as well. So all three of them, maybe it's not meant to work out between any of them because they're all like related somehow, you know. And as I said in one of the videos before, I am glad that everything is mainly sticking to these 4 families, and because things are mainly sticking to those 4 families, that could mean that characters that are introduced are actually part of these 4 families and we just don't know it yet. And that's kind of where I'm going with that Noah being Bartosz route. That kind of works out if Noah is actually a Tiedemann and actually just either is Bartosz or is related somehow. I just saw a bit of similarity there, just in the nose and in kind of the jawline, you know. And then if that's the case, if Bartosz is Noah, then we see here Noah has been telling him things that will happen, and they have been happening. So he's kind of proving that time travel exists, or that maybe he's telling Bartosz that he can see the future, but he could just be drawing on his own personal experience, on his memories to show that happening. And I think that's a real cool dynamic potentially, if what's happening in the future is that it is Bartosz and Jonas actually going up against each other, these best friends that have fallen out. That's always such a great like arc, these friends that fall out, brothers that fall out, and now they're rivals, and they are actually rivals in the future. So at the moment we kind of have 3 characters who are trying to change timelines, right? We have the stranger who is trying to kind of purge the timelines completely, fix this wound in time that Winden actually is. Then we have Noah, who is trying to create like a perfect timeline, fix the timeline, and we have Claudia as well. And then Claudia is also trying to kind of fix the timeline, but I'm guessing it's kind of a separate thing from what Noah's trying to do. They're both trying to fix the timeline for their own interests a bit, you know. So we have younger Alexander, and he just kind of shows up injured. He's got a gun. Like, what's going on there? He was on the run from someone, maybe. So my theory is that, you know, he just randomly shows up in Winden one day in 86 and then eventually becomes the power plant owner, works his way up. Now, I don't think that was as planned as I thought it was. I thought before that it was like completely set up, which it maybe still is, and he has come from another time period. I feel like that could still be the case. But like, just where did he come from? Because the way he was dressed, it didn't look like, oh, he's come from the far future or he's come from 53, he just looked kind of like he fit in 86 a bit there, you know? So I don't know if maybe that isn't the case, that he has come from a different timeline, has been like planted there to take over the power plant, to cover things up, because now I still don't know how much the power plant actually has ties to this now, you know, because we see everything is actually happening in the bunker and they are just like harnessing maybe the energy from the caves to make this electric chair time machine work. And we see that it's actually, you know, Noah and Helga, they're not actually killing these kids on purpose. It's just the kids are dying because the time machine isn't working and they need to dispose of the bodies. So they're just kidnapping kids to experiment on them, see if the time machine works. If it does work, then that's perfect. But if it doesn't, the kid dies. So what is their use for that time machine then? Of course, Noah, it seems he wants to fix the timeline. He's got some vision of what the timeline should be. But what does that mean in terms of like what he is going to do with the time machine? How does he fix it? Is he currently stuck where he is? That doesn't make sense actually, because we know they can just crawl through the tunnel to get everywhere. So why would he need that time machine? But we know it's only the 33-year intervals. What would he actually do with that time machine? Because you can still get people to time travel through the tunnels, but that is, yeah, just confined to those 3 time points. So maybe he's trying to get somewhere else apart from 53, 86 and 2019. I do have this suspicion that he is from the future. It seems like him and the stranger are like from the future, maybe 33 years in the future. So that would be 2052. Is he from then? I'm still not 100% sure if the time travel is only in the 33 years or if it's just the 33 years are for the caves. Because it was Tannhaus saying that that is kind of when the planets all align and the universe is like in the same spot, or the Milky Way, the galaxy is just like in the same spot as it was. It's like 33-year cycles that things repeat like that. And we see with the stranger, he has like photos of the moon and of space, so that kind of ties it in there, you know. And we see Regina actually finds that room, so what will she make of that? You know, I initially thought maybe she thinks that the stranger is the killer. They all assume there's just a killer still loose, and it makes sense, you know. I'm surprised no one has tried to question the stranger and she hasn't thought of that before, you know. Kid goes missing and random guy shows up, but now she has like a bit of evidence that he's got all of this information, you know. But I don't know if any of this information can actually hint her into that time travel exists, because the stuff he has on his walls, it's all just kind of imagery, and you know, he says when is Nickel, but I don't think there's anything like there that super gives it away to her. But maybe she can put something together and figure out that time travel is real. There's a few characters now that do know about it, especially Ulrich now, who is arrested. You know, he got arrested and we didn't get any more of that plot point, so I wonder what's going on with him. I did like the way this episode was structured. We just kind of had the episode in thirds, you know. We had the first third in 53, the second in 86, and the third in 2019. I quite like that. Quite easy breaking it down. There's a few different ways they've done it, you know, intercutting. Before we had it where it like just chopped up different scenes from different timelines, and that was last episode. And we had like intercutting with Tannhaus and the stranger's conversation. That was really cool. But this one is just kind of these 3 separate blocks. I like how they have different ways you can structure the episode with these different timelines, you know. But anyway, Ulrich has been arrested. I wonder what's going to go on there. You know, are they going to take his name and everything like that? Because will Egon, you know, Egon hates Ulrich in 86, obviously. He has like this little bit of a vendetta against him, but what is going on here? Because if he takes the name and it's Ulrich Nielsen and then he recognises Ulrich Nielsen's name in the future, I don't know. I feel like these are things characters could recognise, but because it's 33 years, it's just difficult, you know. Maybe you won't actually remember it. I'm not sure in 33 years I would remember like little one-off encounters like that and people's names, you know. Maybe you'd think it's weird in the moment, but you'd eventually forget about it unless there was something that really stood out in that moment to you. We also saw in 53 Daniel Kahnwald, who is, I am assuming, Innes's dad, so that's cool. Even more people. It didn't get much focused. It was just he was the guy in the corridor who told Egon that Bernd was here, wasn't it? And then speaking of Bernd, he potentially might not be Helga's dad, and that opens up a world of possibilities. That means there's loads of characters it could be who is actually Bernd's dad. You know, all of these families, they have this history of infidelity, it seems. That's a kind of recurring theme throughout this. It's just the connection between these different families. So I do think it probably is someone maybe we know. I guess the two options at the moment are only really Egon and Daniel. That's all I could think of that are like that age, but then it could be a time traveling someone or other and it's actually Yasin's kid or something. Yasin's dead, but you know what I mean. It could be anyone, truly, couldn't it? So then we also learn that Tront's dad is religious, was a pastor, so could have potentially been Noah. That's the immediate thought. So maybe Noah is tied into all of this with Tront as well. And Tront is like researching his father. That's what he's doing with Peter. Obviously him and Peter are like working together, but we haven't really seen much of what they do together. It seems like maybe they're just like trying to piece things together, just as Claudia was at one point as well. But it seems like Noah definitely isn't religious. It's just the act, the pseudonym, the identity he had to take up for this. And it seems like he is actually using religion to get to Helga, and that is the reason Helga is doing this, because he thinks that Noah is like a person of God and was creating like Noah's Ark, like he said, and was trying to fix the timeline, and it's all God's will. That's how Helga is brought into all of this. But now maybe Helga realizes that's not the case, and as we saw with Greta and Noah, they were saying it's like the devil's hands. Is he actually the devil rather than God? But of course, I feel like there's more motivation there. You know, he's trying to fix this timeline. What is he trying to fix it to? Is there a specific set of events that he wants to happen? What are those events? Is it actually what's best for the timeline? And at this point, because there's been so much interference on the timeline, if you just let everything didn't interfere from now on, where would the timeline actually reach? You know, you can let the timeline run its course naturally, but there's been so much interference now from Claudia, from Noah, from Jonas, from Ulrich, just all messing up the timeline, that letting it go its natural course wouldn't have been what the natural course would have been before, you know? We see Bernd and Claudia talking to each other, and there's been this like cover up of the explosion. I still think, you know, I'm wondering if the explosion was purposeful to set up this wormhole or not. It feels like it probably was, but potentially not. It could have been an accident, or it depends, like timeline wise, how it works. If it's all a rift in time. We know it generated in 86, but did it just open there at that point and was generated somewhere else, and it opens on all timelines all at the same time, you know? But then they've been storing these barrels under the ground, and that was what we saw in episode 1 or 2, where Alexander got them shipped out. So Alexander obviously knows all of the dark secrets of the power plant because he's the new CEO or the new head. So we see finally that truck, and it has all of this nuclear waste on it. But I remember them picking up something, and it didn't quite look like a barrel like that. But it could have been a bunch of barrels on a pallet or something, I guess, wrapped up. I remember it being like this dark box kind of looking thing, but I remember the visibility being quite low anyway. But if it is what's in this truck, we just saw the stranger open it up, and then it cuts away. What is actually in there? Is it something that isn't radioactive at all? It's just like all water, and it's just there so they have the weight because there wasn't really anything, and they're using this as the excuse. There was like some issue and we had to hide the waste away, and that's what they're doing. Is it bodies from experimenting on people? Is it, there's lots of things it could be. Is it dead birds? Because we always see when someone time travels, the dead birds happen and the power cuts happen. I'm very excited to see what's in those barrels and actually learn what the deal is with the power plant. Is it just actually nuclear energy? How much of it was all planned? Is it just a facility for time travel? Is it both? Was it all accidental? Who knows? There's so much possibility there with the power plant itself. And then one final thing, we see Hannah again just being manipulative. You know, she manipulated Katerina into thinking it was Regina in 86. We saw that. And then we also saw when Katerina finally like confronted her about the cheating, she manipulated her and said, oh, it was all Ulrich's idea. She shifted the blame. And I know I said, you know, there's no black and white, there's no good and evil, but it does feel like Hannah is the most malicious so far. I can't really say the same for Noah. Noah has been presented that way, but we just still have so little information about him. But the rest of the characters, because we actually have the info on Hannah, she is the character that has the most malicious intent so far. I wouldn't call her a villain or evil, but I would say she's probably the closest so far, just because the other characters, there's still some mystery around them. There's still that benefit of the doubt. There's still, you know, could be explanations for the way they act. But for Hannah, it's just like selfishness, self-preservation, trying to get what she wants. She always gets what she wants, you know? She really is manipulative. And then she does it again with Alexander/Boris and trying to throw Ulrich under the bus here. Like, what are they going to use against Ulrich? Could they frame everything on Ulrich and say he was the one kidnapping everyone? That's the thing. Can they even find Ulrich if he's in prison here? We still haven't had an event that has truly like messed up the timeline, you know what I mean? And I feel like that could happen next episode. Is the season finale next. I'm expecting some maybe big reveals or big moments, potentially a cliffhanger. Like, imagine, I don't know, someone we know dies and that, or someone like Ulrich, he goes back to 2019, gets out somehow and is completely different. You know, there's a lot of things that can happen. Or like, imagine Ulrich going back and Mikkel is there, like Mikkel never went missing, the timeline fixed itself somehow, but there could be other consequences, you know. That would be so great. There's a few shows have done this where you kind of have to make the choice, like imagine he goes back and Mikkel is still there, but it turns out that in this timeline Hannah is now his wife somehow, and he has to choose between Katerina being his wife, the woman he loves or loved at one point, and then his son, and he has to choose what way to go. Or he comes back and Magnus and Marta were never born, but only Mikkel was, and he has to choose his children who he wants to keep around. And then there's that kind of dilemma. That would be a really cool moral dilemma and choice to make. Those are just examples of what it could be, but it could be anything and apply to anyone, that timeline changing like that. But like I said, we haven't actually seen physically someone properly change the timeline. I do wonder if it is actually all fixed, all in this like contained loop where he goes back, he attacks Helga, and that's how Helga gets this scar on his ear. He assumed that Helga was dead, but he actually wasn't. And any changes people try to make to the timeline, does that just confirm that event to actually happen, you know? So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, consider leaving a like or a comment. And if you really loved it, be sure to subscribe so you can keep up to date on all the future episodes. I'm really looking forward to the next one. Whatever the big twist, if there's going to be any big twists in the finale or big moments, big reveals, it's going to be really fun. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.